Previously, I discussed how the phases of the PIM correlate with different types of questions. In this session, I'll show how these question types can be scaffolded to guide students' responses from the low to high levels of cognition, from the triggering phase to the resolution phase. To demonstrate, I'll use the context of an Introduction to Education course. Now let's say that in this course, the students are beginning to study learning objectives, and the students demonstrating an understanding of learning objectives is an outcome of the course. I want to set up a series of questions that I'll use throughout our study of learning objectives, and I'll align the questions with the phases of the PIM. The more students become familiar with this topic, the higher level of cognition I can expect them to apply in their responses. I'll start with the prompt in the triggering phase. I'll use a general invitation question. Here, I want to create a space for students to discuss an open-ended question related to the topic. Next, I'll go to the exploration phase and use a playground question. For this question, I want students to interpret or analyze a particular aspect of the lesson and discuss it with their peers. After that, I'll go to the integration phase for a lower level divergent question in which I'll ask students to analyze information and draw conclusions. Now, we'll look at the resolution phase with a critical incident question. We'll focus on this phase because it's most likely to elicit higher level cognition. I created a real-world scenario in which two science teachers are working to revise their course's learning objectives. And this question is in two parts. In the first part, the student is asked to respond to a colleague's proposed learning objective. And this question is actually in the exploration phase. It's common, and often recommended, to scaffold different phases of the PIM in one prompt. This allows students to begin the task on the shallow end of the pool rather than diving right into the deep end. Then, we move to the resolution phase. The student has to provide their own suggestions for a learning objective. Here, the student must independently apply what they've learned, and there is no direct solution in the text or other learning materials. When constructing your own scenarios for critical incident prompts, think of how your students might apply the lesson in practice. You might think back to your own experience and how it relates to the topic. Don't base your expectations on a correct answer. Your questions should allow for numerous appropriate responses, but they should show application of the key points of the learning content. Finally, feel free to scaffold a critical incident question with a question on the lower end of cognition. This helps students mentally prepare for the task ahead. In conclusion, this video series has highlighted the PIM as a framework for eliciting student responses in a range of cognitive levels, including the elusive high level. And remember that these prompts and questions don't just apply to a discussion board task. You can use this model for any number of in-class, remote, or hybrid activities.